Actually, when we look at the NSS, National Security Strategy, yeah, the positive point is that the recognition of reality in Europe, in Ukraine, but the negative would be they're still pursuing the zero sum game on the part of the United States. They
Yeah,
don't see that much of partnership and they want dominance.
right.
Is that going to help the United States? You've mentioned this Russian strategist is Karaganov, as you
Right.
mentioned. Yeah, because I would appreciate how much of what's going on in Russia you know is reported in the United States because
Oh no,
or they don't care about that.
Russia. Where's that? The Russia. The only news that'll be reported in the United States about Russia is anything that's negative. Oh, they've got huge gas lines. Oh, the stores are empty. Oh, the military's. That's the only thing that would get reported, and and that's all, if you will, Western propaganda. Um, there's very little interest in actually trying to explain uh, what Russia is, what the people are like, what the culture is. The average American still believes that Russia's a communist state.
Mm.
It's anything but. Um, and there really is a cultural divide between the United States and Russia in terms of how the Russians tend to look at the world and and working with other countries. Whereas, as you noted, the United States has one that's built upon, I'll call it a colonial exploitation model. What can we take from others? What can we would need to control, we need to dominate. These other countries have to do what we want them to do. They can't sort of go their own way. They have to be subject to us. And the Russian mentality is much more, collaborative. They don't, in like working with Iran as an example, they don't go to the Iranians and say, listen, bitches, this is how you're gonna do, you're gonna no. It's one founded on mutual respect and willing to, hey, we'll cooperate with you, but we're not going to come in and tell you what to do. We're not going to order you around. Um, it's a collaborative mindset, and I wrote about this last night with respect. I had a conversation when I was in Moscow last with Vyacheslav Fetisov. Um, Fetisov was he's a legend in Russian hockey. Just one of the great players of all time. Uh, However, what he described when he left the Soviet Union when it was still alive in 1989 and was allowed to come to the United States, and he played initially for the New Jersey Devils. That how shocked he was by what he called the Western, the Canadian U.S. approach to hockey. It was all about the individual. It was all about one person being the star. And because he said, I came out of a system that emphasized teamwork, that we had to operate as a unit. Yeah, so one of us may have been a superior player, but it wasn't about me being the star. It was about how do I work with my colleagues, my comrades? How do we cooperate to be a complete unit? And that's a different mindset, and it affects how you interact with people. And so that's really what we're seeing is this individualistic, I got to be the star mindset is that's part of what's killing the West. And we're witnessing the end of that system. It's not going to end next week or next month or a year from now, but it's dying, and it's dying in front of our eyes.
Yeah. Here is Larry what German Chancellor, Merz said that he believes that the era of Pax Americana is coming to an end, and he had a party in Munich. In that party, he said that here is what he said. It's not dubbed by its, you can see the subtitles.
Amerikaner sind für uns in Europa und
Yeah, it seems that
sind für uns in Europa und auch für uns in Deutschland weitestgehend vorbei. Es gibt es nicht mehr so, wie wir sie kennengelernt haben. Und da hilft auch keine Nostalgie. Und ich wäre einer der Letzten, der sich dieser Nostalgie nicht gerne hingeben würde. Aber es nützt nichts. Es ist so. Die Amerikaner nehmen jetzt sehr, sehr hart ihre eigenen Interessen wahr.
yeah.
Oh, there's an unusual concept. Gee, the Americans are pursuing their own interests? Oh my God, that is so unique in international affairs. I mean, who else does that? God, the man's a moron. Good Lord. Oh, what's Germany doing? Oh, what as I recall, the national anthem was Deutschland, Deutschland über alles. Deutschland above all. What a hypocrite. Sorry.
Yeah. But it seems that, to me, when I look at, for example, Merz and other European leaders, they're accepting the reality, somehow talking about it, but you don't see the interpretation of this sort of understanding in their actions. They still seems that they're acting in some sort of denial.
No, they're certainly not in touch with reality.
Because
Go ahead.
if you think this way, you have to act based on what you're talking about. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, well, look at the public opinion polls regarding the Starmer. He's down like 13%. Macron is like 19%. Mertz, 20, was he 25, 26%? So you've got this phenomena where these countries are being led by leaders that are completely despised and detested. They have no popular mandate whatsoever. And so they are pursuing an agenda that is completely divorced from what the majority of their respective populations want. This is a form of insanity, in my view.
Very, you've mentioned that there is some sort of division in Europe. Don't you feel that there is something going on between Germany, France, and the United Kingdom as well? Because I don't see them totally in line with each other.
No, but they are, they even have differences with the EU. So with von der Leyen pushing to seize Russian assets, there has been some pushback from, I know Macron and even, major European banks have pushed back against seizing the Russian assets. So they're not united on that front. And they really haven't come up with a unified military strategy either. They want, as we've talked before, they want Ukraine to pony up all the bodies. Hey, get a 800,000 man army. And here's Ukraine, who's basically 1/10 the population of those three. This is, there is no rational thought being applied to the foreign policy in Europe. It's all emotion, a hatred of Russia. And I think part of that hatred is grounded in Russia's approach for, let's call it traditional values. Europe's become a veritable freak show in terms of its ideological embrace.
Because Germany is suffering the way that no other countries is suffering right now. I don't know if you saw the Financial Times reporting that the Volkswagen is closing a plant in Germany for the first time in
First time.
88 years.
Yeah. They
This is
survived
significant.
They survived World War II, but
Yeah.
couldn't survive Mertz, um,
And
and Olaf Scholz.
these are huge impacts, when you look at its society, like the economy of Germany. How is that going to help Merz? I don't know.
Well, but it's not doesn't translate into any immediate financial pain for the average German because of their system, their security net that's out there. Uh, People they start drawing money off the government, and they'll still take vacations. But in the process now, Germany is having to borrow more and more money, so the debt, the foreign obligations of Germany is increasing and increasing rapidly. And so one of these days, they're going to be back to the days of the Weimar Republic when they had hyperinflation and the economy was collapsing. The trajectory that Germany is on is not good. Um, because it's not just Volkswagen that closed. They're losing a number of industries, and some are packing up and moving overseas. So the Germany once, really had become a miracle in the aftermath of World War II, had rebuilt and was the industrial power of Europe. No longer.
In Europe, they're talking about that Ukraine would join EU by 2027. And looking at Europe today, let's assume they all agree on, Ukraine joining EU. But is the situation in the EU prepared for that?
Oh, no.
Ukraine going to be worse than any nightmare they had so far.
Yeah, this is they're bringing in a dysfunctional economy, a nation that's in ruins, whose population is headed towards extinction. They don't have a birth rate that can replace the population, and the number of dead that have been inflicted upon the military by the Russians, and coupled with the number that have fled overseas. We've talked about this before. From what Ukraine's population was, say, 15 years ago, it's now been cut more than half. It's down to it was like at 43 million. Now it's down around 19 million. That's not sustainable. And so Europe wants to bring them into the EU. I could see Russia in a way saying, "Okay, go ahead. Yeah, you can have them." It'd be one thing if you're bringing in, you say, "Hey, we've got a club, and we want to bring in this guy. He's handsome, he's rich, he's a great athlete, man, and he's got the well educated. Bring him in." No, they're bringing in the country that's the guy that's poor. He's a drug addict. He has no money. He's got bad health. He's got liver cancer. That's who you're going to bring into your club. Because in the past, Europeans like Larry Fink, who we talked about earlier with BlackRock, they're counting on controlling Ukraine was one of the top 5 countries in the world in terms of the natural resources. So they were had a significant potential for of wealth, which is what everybody was salivating after anyway. But as Russia's offensive continues, it's controlling more and more of what used to be Ukrainian resources.